Hi everyone! Today I will be talking about climate change. We all know that this is a very pressing issue affecting many species on our planet. Just a disclaimer, for the purposes of this presentation, I have simplified quite a lot of the information. Climate change is such a complex issue and I encourage everyone to do their own research if interested in any more information. Let's get started. So on September 20, 2020, a clock in Union Square, New York City was set up by project co-founders Gan Golan and Andrew Boyd for Climate Change Week. The numbers represent the years, days, hours, minutes, and seconds left to dramatically reduce carbon emissions, meaning it is enough to give Earth a 67% chance of keeping the world under 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming. Limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius is crucial to avoid some of the worst impacts of climate change, including unsustainable rising sea levels, flooding, loss of coral reefs, wildfires, and so much more. So what is climate change? Climate change is a long-term change in average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, and global climates. Climate change in the last century has been driven by human activity that increases greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere and overall increases the temperature of the Earth. Perhaps the top cause of climate change comes from the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, crude oil, and natural gas. As a society, we have become pretty accustomed to using these fossil fuels to power things like electricity, heat, and transportation such as cars. When these fuels are burned, they release water vapor and carbon emissions into the atmosphere. These gases then lead to the expansion of the greenhouse effect, or the warming that results when the atmosphere traps heat radiating from the Earth. In 2018, carbon emissions from fossil fuel combustions were equal to about 75% of total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. Effects of climate change are so detrimental to all forms of life on Earth. It causes global warming. The planet's average surface temperature has risen about 2.12 degrees Fahrenheit, with most of the change seen in the last 50 years. Additionally, climate change has caused glaciers to melt rapidly. Data from NASA shows that Greenland lost an average of 279 billion tons of ice, and Antarctica lost 148 billion tons per year between 1993 and 2019. In the image here, you can see the changes in the mass of the Arctic glaciers from 1984 to 2012. Because of the melting glaciers, sea levels also rise. Global sea levels rose about 8 inches in the last century. Scientists predict that sea levels will rise by 1 to 8 feet by 2100 and that the ice caps will be completely gone. Other effects of climate change include changes in precipitation patterns, more droughts, heat waves, wildfires, and stronger, more intense hurricanes. One specific species that are currently endangered, particularly because of climate change, are green sea turtles. They have lost over 90% of their population in the last 50 years, according to National Wildlife Federation. Today, there are under 100,000 female turtles, with that number decreasing every year. Sea turtles use both marine and terrestrial habitats during their life cycles. A rise in sea levels will impact the nesting beaches that the turtles use. They remember the map of the beach where they previously nested their eggs and return to that same site decades later to repeat their nesting rituals. However, with the rising sea levels, the beaches are beginning to disappear, so turtles are having a harder time finding their nesting spots. Sea turtles also rely on the temperature of the sand to determine the gender of the hatchlings in the egg. Typically, the eggs in lower, cooler parts of the nest will become males, while eggs in the upper, warmer parts of the nest will become females. With increasing nest temperatures, scientists predict that there will be more females than male hatchlings, creating a significant threat to genetic diversity. So now what? As a society, we can help to slow down the effects of climate change. Most of the things listed focus on using less energy that mostly comes from burning fossil fuels. Reducing energy consumption will in turn reduce the greenhouse effect. Here are a few things on a personal level that you can do. For example, reduce water waste, invest in energy-efficient appliances, and using public transportation. Also, the biggest thing you can do is raise awareness. Get your friends and family talking about the problem and educate others about ways to reduce their contribution towards climate change. Going back to the climate change clock in Manhattan, there's another number that is displayed. This number is in green and it represents Earth's lifeline number. It tracks the growing percentage of world's energy currently supplied from renewable resources. The goal is to increase that percentage to 100% before the countdown clock reaches 0. Although 100% seems really far-fetched, we have to continue to give our best efforts to slow down climate change. The clock is no longer up in Manhattan, however, online resources remain. This is how much time we have left as of April 14th. Together, we can make a difference.